Hey guys, it is me, Tanya, founder of the TNG Designs Group Limited. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Now, in this particular video, we're going to be talking about the idea of what is branding for startups. Now, when it comes to startups, yes, there are many little different nuances that you got to make sure that you are tackling and paying attention towards in order to be able to make sure that you're putting yourself and putting your ideas out there in the best kind of a way. Now, essentially, you're creating a culture around what it is that you're doing. However, within that culture, there are three main ideas that I want you to make sure that you are looking to, not only looking to, but also implementing as well. Now, these three main ideas that you are going to be doing off the back of watching this video will help you to literally just make sure that you are standing out, showing up, and equally representing yourself in the best possible kind of a way that suits your standards, your beliefs, and then some. Now, imagine being able to do all of that also without losing yourself in the process. Well, yeah, this kind of information that I share with you allows you to make sure that you stand true to you, still being able to push your entity out there, being able to make sure you're building that awareness as you should be doing so in a way that's congruent to your standards. Now, please make sure you go ahead and subscribe to this channel because I share content just like this, all to do with the idea of branding, but more specifically, all to do with the idea of helping you to understand that you are more than what you see. And not only that, also know that you're a source of representation that others need to see and others need to be aware of knowing that you are an example of a way forwards, because it's important. You are not the only one out there who is doing what you're doing. However, you are the only one out there who is actually being a source of representation that others definitely need to see more of. Now, before we get stuck into this particular video, please make sure once again you go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. Stick around also to the very end of this video because I've got a way to make sure that all these ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you, especially within this video, you have a way of making sure that you're taking action today, not tomorrow, not to the next year or the next month or whatever that may be. Today, you get to get started today. So I'm all about making sure you keep that momentum going. Because at the end of the day, if you're an entity who's trying to make sure that they are building their awareness, trying to make sure that they are standing out for what it is that they want to be known for, well then you too have to make sure that you are continuing that momentum as well. So let's get stuck into this video. So okay, as I said, we are going to be talking about the idea of what is branding for startups. Now, specifically, when it comes to this particular idea of branding for startups, you've got to think of it as a way of you're building a culture for your brand, a culture for what it is that you're doing. Meaning that anybody who comes across your path will know that within this culture that you have created, they are going to be experiencing X, Y, and Z. Now, those X, Y, and Z's I'm going to help you with for sure off the back of this video. But equally, I want you to really think about when it comes to your culture, when it comes to building your entity, when it comes to understanding what it is that you want others to know about you more specifically, what is that? Really think about that. And I want to help you with three main ideas in particular that will help you to move forwards, especially when it comes to this kind of a thing. Now, the first thing that I really want you to tap into, I've literally just been talking about it just a minute ago, and it's the idea of what do you want to be known for? Now, when you're wanting to or understanding what it is that you are wanting to be known for, you are going to understand how to make sure that you are always showing up in that kind of a light. Meaning, when you are showing up for honesty, when you're showing up for integrity, when you're showing up for creativity, or when you are showing up for the idea of maybe it's an environmental issue, you are always going to be showcasing yourself in those spaces. So integrity comes naturally. So you're going to be speaking honestly from the heart. You're going to be sharing information that comes from the heart. When you're speaking about the environment, you're going to be showcasing information about the environment that shows your passion towards that. When you're speaking about ideas of, do you know what, I just want to make sure that you are getting yourself out there. So coming from a motivational tone, you are always going to be sharing information that helps your client, helps your audience to make sure that they are moving forwards. So those are just a few examples. What is it that you want to be known for? Another example, for me, I want to be known as the branding specialist who not only helps you to stand up and show up and do all those amazing things. I actually want to make sure that you are a source of representation that others start seeing more of. That means that when they see you, the next time they see somebody else like you, they're not going to be shocked. They're not going to be overly wowed in the sense where like, oh my gosh, this is such a unique person, you know? As much as we're standing out as individuals, I actually want you to no longer be that anomaly. I actually want you to be part of the norm. So what is it that you actually want to be known for? Have a think about that. The second thing that I want you to now think about, especially when it comes to the idea as to this culture that you're trying to build, right? It's the idea of how are you positioning yourself? Now, when I talk about how are you positioning yourself, I'm talking about the idea of, again, aside from what it is that you're wanting to be known for, when you are coming to the table or showing up in front of your audience, how are you showing up? How are you showing up with the information that you have around your subject? How are you showing up with the idea or the notion as to what your subject can actually do for somebody? Because when you start sharing value is essentially what I'm trying to say. When you start sharing information that is not only for your audience, but helping your audience to start thinking outside of the box even more so, when you come to the table with all this value-driven information, you start positioning yourself as the go-to expert. And you start positioning yourself as the expert who knows their shit, essentially, right? You start positioning yourself as the expert who knows what they are talking about. And that's super key and important. Because I'm sure you can agree that, yes, there are so many people out there doing something similar to you. However, the way that you approach people, the way that you get yourself out there is unique. And more specifically, the way that you help others is super unique. So let that information be known. How do you help these people? What is it that you've known or realized within your industry that is affecting your industry that you have the answer to? But more specifically, what is it that you know and understand that is affecting your audience that you also have the solution to? Think about how you're actually sharing that information. Help to yourself to help others by showcasing that you know your stuff. You know your craft. You know what it is and how it is that you can actually help people. And you know and understand that, yes, this may be the way how the average Joe may be thinking, but what if you just paid attention to this over here? This key information that allowed you to start thinking outside the box, this key information that allowed you to start believing in a way forwards that is congruent to your own standards and your beliefs. So think about that. And now this third thing. Now, yes, people kind of do this aspect, and yes, it's an element that, it does actually kind of get overlooked in a little way. However, when it's thought of in a way that's super congruent to not only your standards and your beliefs, but more specifically to your audience, this is how you start allowing or helping others to start paying attention to who you are. And I'm talking about the idea of building that commonality factor. Because when you are building that commonality factor, not only are you building something that is relative to your audience, that resonates with your audience, but you're also helping them to understand that, they've been there before. So they, as in you, by the way, you've been there before. So that means that they can also get there too. Remember, you're an example of a way forward. So help others to see that there is a way forward. Help others to know that you really get them. You really appreciate what it is that they're going through. Or more specifically, you really appreciate who it is that they are, but also how it is that you can help them to keep moving forwards. Because remember, folks, we're building brands to not only build our own awarenesses, but to help others to create that momentum that allows them to also move forwards. So how is it that you are helping your audience to move forwards? What is it within your culture, based around these three ideas that I actually just shared with you? What is it within your culture that you're actually sharing with your audience to help them to understand that you get them, you understand what they're going through, but equally you also understand how you can help them to move forwards even more so. So there we have it. When it comes to understanding what is branding for startups, you've got to understand the culture of what it is that you're doing, the entity that you're building, but more specifically, think about those 3 ideas that I've actually just shared with you as well to keep things moving. And on that note, to make sure that you also keep yourself moving, keep that momentum going, click on the link that's in the description box below this video. And I'm talking about that first link that you'll see. Now, when you click on that link, yes, you're going to be asked for a few details. All I need you to do is fill in that information. And once you do so, I'm going to be sending over to you a checklist. Essentially, this checklist is a guide of principles that will allow you to start making sure that you are ticking your own things off of your branding list. Because when you do so, these key principles are guides that I actually use when I'm actually helping my own clients. And equally, I've also used it for myself. They actually help you to understand that who is it that you are addressing? Why is it that you're addressing them? But equally, how can you make sure that you are addressing them in a way that is congruent to not only your standards and beliefs, but also in a way that allows your audience specifically to really understand and appreciate the value that you have to bring to the table. So I'm going to leave it there, folks. Please make sure you go ahead and click on that link. Also, like and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you on the other side.